The first thing I remember is floating. Not falling, not standing. Not even the usual sluggish fog of waking up after too much popcorn and binge-watching bad sci-fi until 3 a.m. Just floating, about 5 feet above my bed. Arms sprawled out like I was auditioning for a Renaissance painting, legs dangling. Boxers clinging on like they knew they were in mortal danger. The ceiling fan spun just inches from my face, each blade swooshing by like a helicopter ready to give me a complimentary eyebrow wax. I blinked at the light fixture overhead, half expecting it to whisper an explanation. Spoiler, it didn't. Okay, I muttered. This is new. My brain scrambled to make sense of it. The breeze from the cracked window tickled my toes. The clock on my nightstand glowed a blinding red. 10:05 a.m. I was supposed to take Taylor to the mall at 10. Double crap. Like a siren from the underworld, or, more accurately, a teenage girl with an agenda. Taylor banged on my door like she was trying to break it down with brute force. Get up! You promised! I'm a little preoccupied, I called, slowly rotating like the saddest birthday balloon in the universe. Mall opens at 10. I peeked at the clock again. Yep, she wasn't wrong. It's barely 10. It is 10, dumbass. Siblings. Nature's way of keeping you humble. I shut my eyes, breathed in, breathed out. My therapist's voice floated up like a ghost. Ground yourself. Stay calm, find control. 1, 2, 3, boom! I dropped like a bag of bricks. Slammed into the bed hard enough to knock the sheets off and snap something beneath the mattress. I bounced once, twice, then flopped like a fish, dazed and tangled. The doorknob jiggled. I'm not decent, I yelped, flinging the blanket over my head. You're bluffing, Taylor barged in. I screamed. She screamed louder. Jerk face! She slammed the door and stomped off, probably to file a formal complaint with Mom. I lay there, gasping and sweaty, eyes wide as dinner plates, heart pounding like a war drum. What the hell was happening to me? I stood in the bathroom, gripping my toothbrush like a lifeline. Foam bubbled at the corners of my mouth, dripping onto the sink like I was mid-rabies transformation. My reflection stared back at me, equally confused, equally horrified. My hair stuck up in all directions like I'd lost a bet with a static generator. Shirtless, half awake. Whole mood. Chaos. But I brushed my teeth like nothing was wrong. Because when everything is wrong, you cling to what feels normal. You hold on to the rituals, the routines, even the stupid ones. Classic avoidance, thanks, therapy. The mint burned, my gums tingled. The sting was weirdly grounding. I spat, rinsed, and blinked hard. And that's when I noticed my toes weren't touching the ground. It was subtle at first. Like the earth let go of me one molecule at a time. Like stepping off the edge of a diving board, except without the board. Or the pool. I looked down. Yup, floating again. I whispered, nope, around a mouthful of foam and panicked. I flailed, kicking wildly like that'd help. My hand slapped the counter, I grabbed it. Big mistake. The second my fingers curled around the edge, it ripped clean off like I was the Hulk at Home Depot. The entire slab of fake marble detached with a shriek and hovered beside me like an angry ghost. I twisted in midair, toothbrush still jammed in my mouth. Don't panic! Then I grabbed Mom's hairspray. Bigger mistake. I accidentally pressed the nozzle and the hiss was immediate, sharp and furious like a snake with asthma. The pressure fired straight into my face, and I shot backward through the air like a human bottle rocket, slammed into the ceiling with enough force to rattle the entire house. My head cracked against the light fixture with a pop of glass and a burst of fake starlight. Toothbrush, gone, mirror, splattered. Pride, destroyed. I hung there, dazed, clutching a ceiling vent with one hand and a still hissing can in the other, legs dangling like a rejected piñata. Knock, knock. Chase? Mom muffled. Curious too close. What was that noise? I scanned the scene. Floating countertop chunk, broken light, soap dispenser spinning lazily in midair. I tripped. I shouted, voice cracked like an old record. A beat, then casual as ever. Get your sister ready. You're leaving in 30. Right. Because this is totally fine. I let go, dropped like a brick. Hit the floor with a loud clunk, skull kissing the toilet seat like it owed me money. The hairspray clattered beside me, still hissing, then let out one final wheeze and died. I groaned and rolled onto my back, staring up at the jagged ceiling hole I'd created. Nothing weird happening at all, I muttered. Just your average floating teenager with spontaneous counter-ripping powers. Totally normal. I can't believe you're dragging me through 10 stores for one pair of jeans, I muttered, tugging the hood of my Ultraman hoodie lower over my face. The fabric smelled faintly of laundry detergent and regret. Taylor didn't answer. She was already skipping ahead, humming to herself as she disappeared into a beauty store that smelled like glitter, sugar, and chemicals. Watching her dart toward the aisles of cheap makeup like it was some enchanted kingdom, I sighed and leaned against a nearby column, arms crossed. My legs ached from walking in circles all morning. My phone was down to 9%, and I hadn't seen an outlet since we passed the food court. I stared at the glowing Ultraman logo on my hoodie, red, silver, and bold across my chest, and tried not to think about how on the nose it suddenly felt. I wasn't supposed to be more than a fan. That logo wasn't supposed to mean anything. Taylor came bounding out of the store, plastic bag swinging like a trophy. 2 more stops, she declared. I groaned. You said that 2 stores ago. She gave me a dramatic eye roll, then turned back toward the escalator. That's when the sound hit. Glass shattering, a scream. Then a gunshot. Sharp, violent, loud enough to punch through the mall's usual drone of music and chatter. It echoed through the atrium like a firework going off in a cathedral. I snapped to attention. My heart slammed into my ribs. Across the mezzanine, a guy in a ski mask stood inside the jewelry store. He held a black handgun like he knew how to use it. People were on the floor, one clerk was crying. Others had their hands in the air, faces pale with panic. Nobody moves, the guy barked, or I start painting the walls. Fight or flight kicked in, and weirdly it felt like neither. I turned and grabbed Taylor's arm. Go, I said. My voice was sharper than I meant it to be. She frowned. What? Just go, Taylor. Hide in any store. Now. She looked at me, really looked. Whatever she saw in my face was enough. No sass, no backtalk. She bolted into the nearest shop. And me? I took a step back behind a column, yanked off my hoodie, turned it inside out, then slipped it back over my head so the logo was hidden. My hands were shaking. I didn't feel ready. I didn't feel brave, but I rose anyway. My feet lifted off the tile as if the air itself had decided to carry me. The mall stretched beneath me, crowds scattering, store gates slamming down, cell phones recording from behind benches and kiosks. I hovered just above the 2nd floor, watching the gunman fill a black duffel bag with diamonds like some budget Grinch on a deadline. Hey, I shouted, his head whipped around. What the hell? You know stealing's wrong, right? I said, floating a little higher. I was trying to sound cool, calm, the way my dad used to. I don't think I nailed it. He blinked like he wasn't sure I was real. You serious, kid? I shrugged. Just saying, maybe you could afford a better ski mask if you didn't spend your life holding up Zales. He raised the gun. You're gonna regret that mouth. Bang. The bullet hit me square in the chest and bounced. It pinged off my hoodie like a pebble hitting metal. I stumbled slightly, not from the impact, but from the shock. He stared, I stared. Holy crap, I whispered. That worked? He freaked. Started firing in a panic. I zipped downward without thinking, closing the distance in a blur. My hand shot forward and twisted the gun out of his grasp with more strength than I meant to. It clattered across the tile and skidded under a bench. He backed away, wide-eyed, like I was the monster now. All around us, the mall froze. Screaming had turned into stunned silence. 2 jewelry store employees ducked behind the counter. One reached for the silent alarm with shaking hands. The robber spotted her. Don't move! He shouted, lunging toward the counter. I surged forward faster than thought. I grabbed both clerks and yanked them to the ground just as the gunman pulled the trigger. The bullet screamed past where their heads had been a second ago, slamming into the marble wall and leaving a dark crater. I said, don't move! He roared again, spinning wildly. But his weapon was gone, his power was gone. And for the first time, he looked scared. Then came the sirens.